So when I was a little girl, we used to really look forward to going on vacation with my dad. Very busy man he was. He ran a retail business and only took a couple of weeks out of the year off. And it was so phenomenal to be with him, myself, my brothers. We'd be in the back seat. And we were just so happy to be going on vacation. And we're like, let's play. We're on vacation. Oh, wow. And along the way, on some journey to the beaches or wherever we might be headed, we would see different significant places along the way. And we would say, Dad, let's stop. Let's go there. He goes, we can't. We're on vacation. And we got to get there. You know, it took the neighbors 8 hours. I think we can do it in 7 if we don't stop. But Dad, let's play. Let's play. And I realize that, you know, beyond 30 years old, you can no longer blame your parents for anything. If you are, we have counselors and practitioners here for you. But there was a part of my dad that he was where he was, and yet he often was wanting to get there to the next place as quick as he could. And so that pattern I continued sometimes to carry within me. I would be enjoying whatever I was doing, but then all of a sudden I would get it in my mind of something else was coming. Could be career, could be opportunity, could be love, could be whatever it was, but it would kind of hook me. You know, like a big old hook, like, oh, well, that's going to be better than where I am right now. Any of you ever done that? I know some of you do that on Sunday because you start watching your watch. How long is this service, really? I don't mind you looking at it, but when you hit it, I'm concerned. So I would get hooked because I needed to be in control. And so in that space, I did work on that at depth with therapy, different things, to be where I am, be present, love the space I'm in. And so that hook was doing pretty well. It's lying dormant. Then I decided to go to Abadiânia, Brazil, to see John of God. I didn't have any agenda. I wasn't hooked by a point. I simply had heard a lot of great things about him, and I had always meant to see Sai Baba. And I missed that moment because he made his transition in 2011 or 12. And I thought, this time I'm going to see a miraculous healer. Because I think if you can see that fundamentally, there's no way you can witness that and not be changed at depth, right? You agree with that? And so there I was, and I'm in Abadiânia, Brazil, and I'm waiting in line, and I have no expectation. And then Reverend Diane Scribner Clevenger comes up to me in the line, and she says to me, oh my boy, goodness gracious, I can't wait to see what John of God says about you. I went, what do you mean? Well, you know, other ministers and healers come through the line. You know, he sees them right away. He recognizes them. And sometimes he'll even ask them to lead one of the services here. So I go through the line, and he doesn't even look up at all. No look. I went through the line a number of times, as did everyone else. So, fast track a couple of years, and I'm meeting with Rob Morgan, who's become a friend, and he'll be here in February. We can't wait. And so, Rob Morgan and I, we're having dinner, and so he's just starting to talk about different things, and he tells me about his trip to Abadiânia, Brazil, when he saw John of God. And he said, you know, John of God recognized me right away. And I'm just kind of, you know, checking in with myself, reminding myself it's about him, be there, be present. I really wanted to say something, but I didn't. And so anyway, the next day we're having Awakening into the Sun here at the campus. And there were psychics in the reception area for $15. That is a deal. you know. They knew in advance they were going to do real well that day, so they're in there. And so I thought, I want a reading. And so I hear this voice inside me say, well, ask them about that, you know. I went, I am not going to, I don't even know these people. They don't know me. You know, I'm not going to say anything. So I'm sitting there, and so the woman starts telling me a couple of things that was spot on, and I really needed to hear it. And then, of course, would you believe what she did? You might even wonder and ask me, what did she do next? Well, amazingly, she said to me, do you have another question for me? And I said, well, do you have another question for me? She said, and I said, no, I don't have any question. And she says, wait a minute. And she grabs my arm. Wait a minute. Is John a God? He said, for me to tell you that he did see you. He did see you. And I could hear God. Can you hear me now? And I haven't had the hook since. There was something fundamentally healing about that I was brought to a place within my own spiritual life that I believe, just like you, we're all destined for greatness. It's not about who knows us. It's about that we know ourselves. There are no chosen people. There are only people who choose this path, you see. And so in that space, when we did a number of years ago, we did the Great People of God, Rosa Parks, obviously Jesus, Buddha, Martin Luther King, Gandhi, and Mother Teresa. And it was great studying them because they showed in life the challenges that had developed them. But they never set out to do the great work that they were doing. Maybe some of them resisted even signing up for the club. But they weren't all interested in getting their Facebook page and their package together to go out to the marketplace. They were more interested in getting to know the deep spirit within them and the majestic life or the miracles that they were to understand because of their connection with spirit. You know, around the spring Academy Awards, all the celebrities are so decked out. You never see any of them going in an alleyway. They always walk the red carpet, you know, see me, experience me. Here I am, here I am. But when you read in Scripture the healings that Jesus did, when he healed the guy with leprosy, he said, please don't say anything. And then when he brought sight to the blind man, no, be quiet. I'm putting new words on it. That was the intention. When he, as a shamanic individual, healed the demon within the man, he said, don't speak of this. Don't speak of this. When we think about great people, what we look at, and that would be each of you in your seats right now, you're all destined for greatness, or you wouldn't be here. You just wouldn't be here, and you wouldn't have chosen this time on the planet to be here like you did without the great gift of what you have to offer. What is it that makes the history takers, and yet what is the distinction with the history makers? I like to say, in order to make a difference, we must be willing to be different. We must be willing to be different, to be ourselves, not about, did you see me? More about, have I seen myself? More about, do I see myself through the eyes of God, my Creator? You know, Jesus wasn't a Christian. He wasn't practicing religion. Buddha wasn't a Buddhist. Lao Tzu wasn't a Taoist. They were just simply experiencing how they were guided to live their lives. Does this resonate with you? When we think about great people, we think about the necessity to be grounded, to be in that grounded space of prayer and meditation, being in that faculty. Donna Johnson, the CEO of Unity Worldwide Ministry, spoke, and her talk was talking about it's leap year this year. So you get one extra day to achieve your dreams. And if you decide to leap into that, this could be the day. You don't have to wait till the 29th of February. You could do it now with that extra window of time into, I know I'm here for my own great destiny, and I am willing, I answer my call. It doesn't really take any more than that, actually. But she talked about the power of listening, the verbal, I'm being attentive of you, the nonverbal, the body language, and all the things that go with that, which are so evident, that you can read a face saying one thing, a body saying another. Are you glad to see me? That kind of thing, the nonverbals that really tell the truth. But what I think about when I think about listening, and that those two things are practiced all the time, I also think about the fact of listening to all the signs around us, listening to the wind, listening to the stop, listening to when the car won't start, listening to when somebody was supposed to show up and they didn't. But to really listen into that gap space of then asking yourself, is it still mine to do? Is this where I'm supposed to be? The listening of that. One of the best listeners I've known in my entire life is Reverend Allen, because they had gone through a candidacy process. Had he been a mover and a pusher and got to get it done and get it happen so I could go on vacation, he would have went with some of the early elect people to be ministers. But he, in his groundedness, said, no, we're going to wait. We're going to wait. And then he invited me to speak. No plan intended. No pun intended, none of that. I just very innocently showed up. And the next thing I knew, 5 weeks later, here I am. He listened to all my no's, all the reasons I wasn't coming, and he looked at me with those big old blue Moses eyes, and he said to me, can I have this dance for the rest of my life? Will you be my partner through joy and through strife? We won't get married 'cause Catherine's here. But you do this work and I'll be here, my dear. Thank you. So, thank you. Thank you. He brought me back to the love of my life, he did. Restored my soul. That's that listening. That's that, in Africa they call it Ubuntu. I feel you, I am because of who we are. It's that resonation, that connection of the heart that hears, that moves beyond words, moves beyond sight. It's a core value that we can recognize so deeply in one another. There are 88% of the world today that make the claim that they believe in God. They believe there's something there. They believe in that. That's 6.16 billion people on the planet. What if we hold a consciousness, creating a world that works through everyone, that belief moves into a place of connection. And from a connection becomes a practice. And through the practice, within months, this world would be in a greater reality than it is right now. Could you hold that? Could you hold that? Yes. In that space, that Ubuntu, that place in your prayer that you can see that the unity way for people, that they will come to understand a deep connection with their Creator, more than a belief. A belief is la-da-da-da-da-da. The practice of the belief is, yippee, let's play. A very different consciousness. The little girl, when she was asked, what is love? She said, love is when my mommy reads me a bedtime story And she doesn't skip any of the pages. You don't want to skip any of the pages of your life. Don't rush the pages. Don't rush to get finished with the book. Be more interested in living and integrating the book. You see, don't rush the pages to get over there, to get towards the vacation, to get to the next place, but to allow, without control, what is wanting to emerge now. In that space, we do change our plans a lot. We change our direction a lot because we're listening to that inner wisdom of spirit within us that really has the great GPS, the God-personalized system of our lives anyway. That's the space we can learn to endure and to come from. I'll close with a story of a mom. She's busy cleaning up. It's late. And she asked her little boy, "Would you go out on the porch and get the broom?" He says, "Mom, it's dark out there. I'm afraid." She says, "Son, you don't have anything to be afraid of. Not a thing. God's out there. God to take care of you. God's in anything and everything. And God's got you. Don't worry about it." So she thinks, well, this is positive because she hears the door open. And the little boy yells, "God, if you're out there, would you please bring me the broom?" Can you hear me now? God's got this. Thank you for coming today. Thank you.